Perfect. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So quickly, I'll just introduce myself, Trish McCrae with Link Electronics. I'm the sales manager here. Link Electronics is a leader in broadcast manufacturing. We do, our main product is captioning equipment, but we do manufacture other products. One of the big spotlights and one of the big things that's been going around right now is automated captioning, which is what we're going to take a look at today. We have what we call our ACE series, the Automated Captioning Engine, and it can do captioning for both live and post-production events. So I'm going to go ahead and start. What we're looking at here, you should be able to see my screen. If everybody's joined with their computer, you should be able to see what I'm sharing with you. Is our user interface for our ACE 2000, which is our live captioning system. I guess just a quick overview as well of what our ACE engine is. For live, it's an on-premise server. It doesn't need to be connected to the internet for it to function. It's you own it, you use it as much or as little as you want. There's no reoccurring fees or per minute or per hour fees. You can hook the system up using embedded SDI or HDMI, or you can hook it up using AES, balanced AES, or analog. So there's definitely different connections based on your needs and your setup. So for live, we have a couple of different options when we're looking at doing live captioning. Traditionally, you would have to call in to a captioner, a human captioner, and ask them, you know, hey, I need captioning between 2 and 3, or whatever your schedule is, and they're going to run it. And if you go over that time by more than 15 minutes, generally they drop you. For this type of system, you can actually set it up to either do schedules or events, which would schedule you either every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You set it, you forget it, and it's going to run every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Or you can set it to start immediately. This system was originally with the thought process of having breaking news and breaking weather being its primary use, and we found that this system's used for much more than that. But I'm going to go ahead and show you. So what I have kind of set up here on our user interface, you can see I've got a couple of shows that I set up on our schedule. So this afternoon they're going to talk about how there was only one person that won the $1 billion lottery today. And I also have a talk show that I have scheduled, and I have it scheduled to run, and it's going to automatically start every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 4 and 5. What I'm going to set up right now, though, is an immediate task. So that was that breaking news, breaking weather, or starting an event immediately, and you can have it run up for up to 24 hours into the future. So I'm going to start an immediate event, and at the end of each one of these events, or each one of these scheduled programs, the system's going to create a zip folder, and in that zip folder, it's going to contain your required SRT files, your time-stamped transcripts. It'll have a bunch of diagnostic information. You can choose to have it save your audio. There's a lot of different options that you can have in that zip folder once that program has been completed. So what we're going to do is give this event a name, and this is naming that zip folder in the end so that you can find it easily. I'm going to call it Bridge Digital. And I'm going to run it for the next hour. And again, you can change to have it run for the next up to 24 hours into the future. I'm going to choose, we have a couple of options. You can choose to keep the audio as part of that zip folder as well. And I can also choose to turn on turn detection. Turn detection is where if you have a group of people, it will actually put little chevrons every time the system hears a new speaker. It'll put chevrons denoting it's starting a new speaker. And we can actually take that one step further, and we can take voice imprints or voice samples from regular speakers or news anchors. and take voice samples, create an ID for them, and actually every time they speak, it's going to have their name. So you can see on here we have two little samples, Jane Doe and John Doe. So every time Jane Doe starts speaking, because we've taken a voice imprint, Jane Doe's name is going to pop up. This is great for, like I said, for news anchors, things like that. Next, we're going to select our language. We only have English on this one, but we do have a dozen different languages to choose from, including different dialects of languages. So we have British English, American or US North American English, Spanish from both Europe, Central and South America, Portuguese, again, European, Brazilian, African. There's Swiss, German, French. Like I said, several different languages out there. And this is language to language, not translation. So this is English to English, Spanish to Spanish. We'll talk about translation here in a second. The language model is where all of the vocabulary resides. We have a few different language models based on need. This is your general, that we call it the daily news. This is where majority of the vocabulary resides. We currently have over 250,000 words in our language model, and that includes, your regular dictionary terms plus street names, people's names, locations, regional terms, things like that. Everything that's added every time we send a system out and install it and create more vocabulary, that actually gets spread out to everybody's dictionary. So it grows. The more systems we have, the more the vocabulary grows, and the more accurate we become. We can also make unique vocabulary or language models. One of our customers is in the e-gaming industry. So if you guys, anybody's familiar with e-gaming, you know that these gamer names are very unique. I always use Couch Potato 34 as an example of one of these team names. And within Couch Potato 34, there might be an underscore, an @ sign instead of an A 3 instead of an E. And we worked with this company for a couple of months and actually created a language model specific for these gamer names. So we actually can caption gamer names the way that the team names have actually spelled them, with the @ signs and the 3s for E's. So we've worked with them to create that, and they have several of our systems as they travel around and do these big tournaments. But usually everybody uses their own, the US daily news model. That's where most people find all of their vocabulary. The last thing we want to do before we start captioning is choose our inserter. This is where on the screen and how many lines of captioning are going to show up at any time. And you can customize within that. You can customize font and things, and we'll look at that here in a second. I always like to choose, because in general, most people choose this, as a 3-line roll-up on 15. I'm going to go ahead and create our live event. And whenever I set up a new system or I start new captioning, I always like to take a look and make sure that my audio levels are good, that it started captioning. So you can see right down here at the bottom of the screen, you see this green here. So green is good audio, yellow is okay. If I see a lot of red, that means that the audio levels are not loud enough and that the system's not going to create captions very well or not at all. So I always like to take a look at this when setting up a new system. So I'm going to share a new screen with everybody, and I'm going to turn on the volume so that you can actually see the video that we are going to be captioning. So what I have set up in my system, or in my little demo shop, is just a video recorder that's hooked up to the back of the ACE. It's just a YouTube TED Talk that we downloaded, and just have it running through our little digital recorder to the ACE. It's captioning it almost like tape to live. So you can see here this little video that's going. I'm going to unmute it, and you can actually watch it. This would be live caption, quote unquote live captioning, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys listen to it for about a minute.
7 principles that have now been adopted by the highest levels in the Chinese government, and they're moving to implement them. And they're simple, and they are globally, I think, universal principles. One is to preserve the natural environment, the history, and the critical agriculture. Second is mix. Mix use is popular, but when I say mixed, I mean mixed incomes, mixed age groups, as well as mixed land use. Walk. There's no great city that you don't enjoy walking in. You don't go there. Places you go on vacation are places you can walk. Why not make it everywhere? Bike is the most efficient means of transportation we know. China has now adopted policies that put 6 meters of bike lane on every street. They're serious about getting back to their biking history. Complicated planner easier.
So you can see that there's a slight delay. Part of it is because we're going on a network. We're on a network. I'm actually remote from our own office as well, so there's a little bit of a delay. But you will see about a 3 to 5 second latency for the system. Part of that is the processing, and part of that latency is because the system's actually looking for homonyms. So 222, there. If it recognizes one of those or hears one of those homonyms, it's actually going to stop, go back to the beginning of the sentence, and then wait for the person to finish speaking or get to an end of a sentence, or go 4 or 5 words into the, into the future, if you will, to determine the correct context. So it could, instead of putting TO, they actually meant to say TOO. So it'll actually look at that. So that's part of that delay in there. In Spanish, when we're doing captioning in Spanish, the latency is shorter because there's fewer homonyms. So the system doesn't have to try and look for all of the 222, there. So it's actually a shorter latency in Spanish or French. I'm going to go ahead and flip back our share screen. And I want to show you some of the features that our system has. One of the things that I did not mention and I didn't show you is the possibility of doing translation. This newest release that we're sending out here very shortly will actually have the ability to do translation live, English to Spanish, Spanish to English. The system that would then be required to be connected to the internet for that translation to occur, but it is a possibility now. And it would actually show up on CC3, so it would become another closed caption for the system and for viewers. So going down the side here, we have all of our different features that we have. So you can take a look at all of your different events that you have. You can take a look at all of the different tasks that are out there. So if you had a long list of different events that you had going throughout the next, the next 24 hours, you could put that all here. Same with all of your events. If you had a list of different programs, they would all appear here very easily. This is where you can set up all of your different channels. Like I said, we can take embedded, SDI, HDMI, or analog, balanced analog, or AES. Then you have your inserters. This is when we're talking about where and how the captions appear on the screen. And you can customize that up. You can have it all in caps and yell at everybody, all in lowercase, or you can have it, what we have the result formatting is just normal, where there's going to be a capitalization on the beginning of the sentence and for proper words. You can choose your encoder. We have it set to where if you already have a captioning encoder in-house, you do not have to buy a brand new encoder. Our system will work with any other encoder that's out there. Common ones, EEG, Everett, ours you can use, and they're already preset with all the hooks and handles for this system. And then the other things, you can choose how many lines appear at one time. That's your roll-up. Confidence level, you can actually tell the system. Right now we always have it set to default at 0.5 or 50%. So if the system falls, accuracy or confidence falls below 50% at any point in time, it just will not post that word. If you wanted the system to have a higher confidence where it wouldn't post anything under, let's say, 70%, like if you wanted the system to where, man, I need it to where if it's not really, really sure, I don't want it to say anything at all, you increase this confidence level, and anything that would fall below that mark would then just come up blank. And we can take a look at what that confidence level, how that affects and how that plays. We'll take a look at one of the zip folders here in a second. New speakers, that's your little chevrons. You could change it to dollar signs or whatever you want. You can change those little chevrons or carets to whatever you would want as well. Continuing down that left side, we have our list of different speakers. Like I said, we can take snippets of a person's voice you try to take it over a couple of days in different setups. We do not want them to read off a script or anything like that. We want it as natural as possible because we want a person's voice, because your voice changes throughout the day. In the morning, it might be a little groggy, gruff, and as the day wears on, it might get a little bit more faint the more you talk. We want all of those different transitions or different changes, or maybe one day they're a little bit nasally, they have a little bit of congestion. We want as much variation in that person's voice as possible, so that way we can get as accurate of an overall average of that person's voice. Then we attach a name or an ID to that voice, so that every time the system recognizes that voice, it'll put their name in front of whatever they're saying. These are all the different models. Like I said, we have several different languages out there. If we ever came up with it, if you own the system and we came up with a new language or a new language model, it becomes available to you. It's no additional charge. Anything that's added, all of the vocabulary that's added, almost every day we add new vocabulary, it automatically becomes available to you at no additional charge. It's your system. The license key, that's a one-time thing. You put it in once and you own it forever. You can set up proxies to actually use the system remotely if you would choose so. And then the rest of it's just your little configurations. You can set up users and user logs for a system if you had it on a network. So that's it for our live, just showing all of the different features that we have for our ACE 2000. I'm going to go ahead and turn off what we had going here. And that's one of the little catches for if you were to own the ACE 2200 server or system. It actually has the ACE 2000 and the ACE 2100 software on one system. The only catch is that they cannot run simultaneously. They can run after each other. And we can set up the post-production side or the ACE 2100 to work anytime the ACE 2000 is not being used. We can do presets like that. They just can't be used at the same time. And it's just because there's not enough computing power. Your latency on the live would go up greatly, and your delay in processing time on your post-production would go up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of the ACE 2000, and I'm going to pull up the ACE 2100. And I'll share that here with you in just a moment. So this is our login screen for our ACE 2100 post-production. So our post-production, you can see we have a couple of videos that we've processed through here. Our post-production, we have a couple of ways to go about setting up, running through files, video files, and it takes, gosh, dozens of different video formats. MP2s, MP3s, MP4s, MOV files, you name it, it'll process it. You can set up a watch folder to where anything that, and you could set it up on a network if you wanted to where anything that was dropped into that folder would automatically have the system turn on, log in, and process the videos with whichever parameters you want, and then output them to the end folder wherever you would so choose. So you can have that run and set up automatically. So if you have a lot of archive video, which I know a lot of people do, so if you had 19,000 hours of archive video that you needed to get processed, you could set up that watch folder, dump all of those videos in, and the system will automatically process each one of them individually based on the parameters that you've already preset. Or, like what I'm going to do right now, is set up a manual task. And you could have a watch folder and be able to do manual tasks at any time. You could do that as well. I'm going to set up media recognition. I'm going to keep the language as English. I'm going to keep my priority as 5. This is where it would be really great if you have a watch folder with a bunch of videos and you wanted to manually process a video, but you need this one done right away. You increase your priority. You go up to a 10, which is highest priority, and it will then be the very next video to be processed. It won't stop and drop the process that it's currently working on. It'll just become the very next one that will be done. We choose our language model, which we had already discussed with all that vocabulary in there. I'm going to choose my file. So we have, let me go to videos, and I have that TED Talk again. I'm going to go ahead and just process that TED Talk. At this point, I can choose to amplify the audio. If I knew that the audio levels were not great, I could choose to amplify it, and that will kick up the audio a couple dB to help the system to process the captions a little bit better or process the audio. And then I'm going to click Upload. From here, if you have speaker IDs that you wanted to add to it, you can select your speakers at this point, or you can go ahead and create the task. We're now running our process. This is a 12-minute and 8-second video. Our system will process it at about 3 times the length of the video, or an hour-long video takes about 20 minutes, if I said that correctly. So you can see we processed it down here a couple of times. It looks like it took 1 minute and 6 seconds to process this video earlier. And before that, it took another one minute and 6 seconds for that 12-minute video to process through. So speed is a great thing. The longer, and generally the longer the video, the faster it does it. Some of the things that may change that time is if you have multiple speakers, a lot of homonyms, if there's sound effects or things that will cause the system to kind of search for a speaker or try to get a speaker out of it, it may take the process a little bit longer. But in general, we always say 3x just to kind of be conservative. So you can see it processing here. We're about halfway through. Once the video is processed, and this video is an MP4, so once the video processes through, we'll be able to make a couple of choices. And again, this could all be automated when you're using the watch folder. You can choose to have the captions embedded into the video, or you can have it as a sidecar file using an SRT file or an SCC file. There's a couple dozen different file formats that you can choose from that we'll be able to look at here in a second, but it's based on the file that's the video file or the audio file. So this MP4, as it's processing through, the system will recognize and say, okay, based on the incoming file format, I will give you these options for your outgoing file format, whether it's, like I said, an SRT file, whether it can be injected or not, and it'll automatically tell you that. So, which is really nice. It's very intuitive. You don't have to just know, oh yeah, I chose an MP4, so I can only use this, this, or this. The system does that for you. So this time it took 1 minute and 53 to process through that TED Talk video, still faster than 3x, which is good. These are all of your different file formats that you have to choose from based on that incoming file. Oh, let's actually click, there we go. So if I scroll down, you can see the different file formats, whether it's just a plain text or a Word document. There's that SRT file, there's SCC, SAMI files for people that use different players out there. So there's the web VTT files for your online streaming. So lots of different choices. I'm going to choose an SRT, it's my favorite. And I'm going to go ahead and you can see where it says inject. So I'm going to do both of these. I'm going to inject let's go ahead and allow pop-up. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and save this file and make sure that I can find it. And I'm going to call it TED Talk Injected. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then I'm also going to open the SRT file so we can take a look at it. let me share this with you. So now you can actually see the SRT file that was created from our post-production. And from here, you could go in and edit it if you wanted to. Let's say I don't like it to have numbers. I want it to say 3. And the guy from the gentleman from Bridge Digital know that I love horses. So instead of 3 billion people, it's 3 billion horses. So now I just created that file and edited my caption file. So now the next time that I pull up this video, it'll actually say 3 billion horses. It's as easy as that. I've just created that caption sidecar file, if you will, of that SRT file for that video. Let me flip back to here. And I'm going to share one more screen with you, and then I'll be able to take questions. I just want to show you guys what the video looks like so that you can see that you can actually edit it, and it is that simple.
We add to the complexity of the situation.
I'm going to add my TED Talk and share this with you. There we go. So we should be able to see.
Situation we find ourselves in. At the same time that we're solving climate change, we're going to be building cities for 3 billion people.
Well, it looks like I chose the wrong subtitle file, but you can see there that it actually will pull up a subtitle file without any problem. I've done this several times, so finding those files can be a little bit fun. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. You can. One thing to note on post-production is that the timing for the system will be, there will be no latency. There's no delay. As he's saying the first word of a sentence, the entire sentence usually pops up. So it's on time or just a smidge ahead of them actually speaking. So it retimes the captions to the speaker in post-production. One of the other features that it has, if you already had a script from a news report or a movie or whatever you had, if you had a script already redone, you could set it up and actually do what we call a CC align, which is just right here. So you could actually choose CC align. You can choose your script, choose the video, and it will align it and create captions that are time-stamped, and it'll align it with the speaker. So lots of really great features. It has the same kind of administration features on the side over here as on the live. I won't go through them again to not bore you guys. Over on the right-hand side, you can actually search for different videos. So it'll save on the server here. It'll save anything that you've done. It'll save it for 7 days. Best thing to do is to save it on an off the ACE server. Save it on your network, and you'll be able to use it. So I guess without further ado, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask. You can schedule if you're interested in having any of your content demoed. If you want to let John Prather know, or any of the gentlemen over at Bridge Digital, they'll be able to hook you up with our FTP site, and we will pass the content through both of our live and post-production and send you the results back. It looks like, yeah?
Yeah, hi. NYT in Albany, New York. I was just curious, questions actually, is this, when it comes to actually purchasing this, is it a package that we buy of hardware and software through Bridge Digital? Or are we just buying the software from Link and the hardware from Bridge? What would be the, if you don't mind my asking, if you can, what's the sales model for this system?
Yeah, so it's actually, it's a server. So it's a hardware server with the software already included. It's Windows 10 IoT, but we've completely cleaned it out. What we're looking at right now is actually my demo computer that we kind of custom built so that we can do Zoom meetings and things like that. So I can't actually show you that it doesn't have all the, updates and upgrades that Windows likes to force people to go through. Your Bubble Witch saga and Disney have all been stripped off of there, so it's just a very base of Windows 10 IoT, and then our software is on that system. So when you would purchase it, you're purchasing from Bridge, you'd be purchasing the entire package. It's a 2-rack unit server with the software on there.
Tech support after the sale through Bridge, is it through Link or through voice interaction?
It is through Link Electronics. We are on call 24/7, 365 with with one of our engineers. You don't get a call center. You don't get an after-hour service. We'll be speaking to one of our engineers.
Hey, you want to ask a question?
Hey, this is Steve from the same place. I'm doing a live caption of our newscast. Can I also simultaneously files, or is it a single task at a time?
It would be one task at a time, but you can set up with your watch folder. You could set it up to where anytime the live, what we call the ACE 2000 was not in use, the system would the ACE 2100 or post-production would kick on automatically and process the videos. Just kind of it'll say, oh, yep, no, it's not in use. We can go ahead and switch over, process any post-production videos and go that way. Or you can have it set between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., run any post-production whenever the live system's not in use.
Right. So again, so I understand, we would schedule all our live broadcasts as we know them, so that would happen automatically, and then I can just drop files in the watch folder to run alternative to the live.
Correct. All really great questions. Any other questions that we have out there? Check to see if we have. I had a couple chat questions come through. Will it do MXF? I believe so. Let me double check. There's so many different formats that are out there and different inputs that I learn something new every single day about the system and what its capabilities are. Like I said, we even added, based on our customers' feedback, we've added different file formats on post-production, being able to do MP2s. The SAMI files were recently added to help out with users that use Granicus because they use SAMI files, so we've worked with them to make sure that their system will work as well.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I have a question. When you're going from that live captioning, if I want to take that live caption text and save it to whatever format, will it do that, or will it only actually present it? So if I have a kind of a live content to converting it to post-production, instead of running the same build twice, I just want to take what you did live and use that in my post-production.
Yeah, let me pull up. So one of the things that I did not do, bear with me a second here, and I should have a zip file. There we go. Let me share this with you. So you can see the screen here. This is actually the zip folder that's created after a live event is completed. This is going to create that zip folder, so you can see the SRT file here, which is your transcript. So you'll be able to actually use that and save that as your sidecar file. So if you had it archived on your website, this now has become your your sidecar file for your online. So you do not have to rerun it through the system again.
Okay. Is it ever more accurate or better timestamp of rerunning it through post-production through the 2100 than it would be through the 2000?
If you run it through the live, it's going to process it at live time. So it'll be, if it's an hour-long video, it'll take an hour. On the post-production, if you run it through, it's going to run it through, like I said, at 3x, so an hour-long video will take less than 20 minutes. So there's definitely a benefit to being able to have the post-production. The post-production especially becomes beneficial for a lot of archive video. Or if you do a lot of post-production where you want to have quick return on it, that's the best. One of the questions that came up on the little chat box here, let me just pull it up. It was in regards to the vocabulary and how we add our vocabulary, who has access to it. We actually are in control, Link is in control of the vocabulary, not because we don't trust you, but because it's much more complex than just adding a vocabulary or a word. We actually create all of the phonetics behind each one of the words. So, for example, the word Louisville, Kentucky, if any of you are from that area, or Louisville, or Louisville, or Louisville. It is all the exact same word pronounced in different ways, and so we want to make sure that the phonetics for that word, no matter who says it or how they say it, it actually will caption it correctly. So that's why we actually look after the vocabulary list. You can send us a list of if there's any particular words that you want added. When we add or send out a new system, before we send it out, we actually send out web crawlers to that region. So we look on local newspapers, local news stations on the internet, and grab as much new local regional vocabulary as we can. But we can also take a list. So if you have people's names that you want to make sure are added, like I said, your news anchors, things like that, just give us the list and we'll set it up. You can personally add like speaker IDs and things like that, but that's something that we do. That's part of our service so that you do not, we are the captioning experts, you don't have to be. We don't want it to be a science fair product for you guys. The other question was in regards to the vocabulary within the profanity list. That is the one vocabulary list that you do have access to. We like to call it our very expanded George Carlin list. It's not 7 words, it's like 700 words. Words that I've never even heard of in some cases. But you actually have control of that list to decide whether you want to censor delete everything that's on there or choose what you want to do with it. You could have it censor delete, or you can have it post the word, or you can change the word entirely. I always like to use the word sexual. That is on the list as a censor delete automatically, but you can choose to have it say it or post it, or you could change it to where it has little asterisks and exclamation point, you know, the wingdings kind of thing, or you can have it replace it completely with a completely different word, like sexual is now bunny rabbit. You can choose to do whatever you want with that, with the profanity list. Let me see.
Question.
Yeah.
Files list that you're on the screen right now. So you're creating these files for every live event that occurs.
That's correct.
At some point, do they auto purge, or is that up to us to, because that's going to build up to the library of garbage after a while?
Yes, it will auto purge from our server. You can choose to save it off of our server. So it'll save on our server for 7 days. Okay. But you could choose to, like I said, choose to save it in a different location. We can set up almost like a watch folder, if you will, to automatically send it to save out to wherever you want on your network.
Can you control the threshold with which you keep or purge from 7 days to shorter or longer?
Yep. Yep. And I think the most that we've done is 14 before the server starts getting filled up. And we definitely don't want the server to get overflowed.
Right.
And I think, and if I open this, I should be able to share. Bear with me. One of the other questions that we had was in regards to turnaround time for vocabulary. If you were to send us a list of words by 3 o'clock, we'll have it updated in the system by 5 a.m. the next morning. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time. It'll get auto-updated by 5 a.m. Let me see here.
Any means of watching a script, like a prompter script, to match up words that may be missing?
You can take a script from the prompter or from wherever and run it through the CC Align in post-production. So you take the video and then take that script, run it through, and then it will create a caption. It'll actually align it to the speaker.
But that's in post, not in live. That's not in live, right?
Well, not in live. Live is this. What is said is said. We actually try not to. We don't want to use the prompter because we found through working with especially a lot of broadcasters or news stations that the prompter ended up kind of being a suggestion instead of actually used. So what was on the prompter and what was actually said by the news anchor were two very different things. So we kind of steered away from using the prompter as a guide. So the system, it kind of runs independent.
And how long did you say it takes for the system to learn the different voices of different talent or speakers?
For setting up speakers, so we generally like to, I guess, best case scenario, we would like to take 5 days worth of audio, and it's not 5 24-hour loops of it. It's 5 days worth, just separate feeds, and it's 30 seconds to a minute of that speaker speaking all by themselves. We don't want anybody else, speaking over them during that little 30-second or 1-minute snippet. We'll then take that over those next 5 days, process it through, run it back and forth, and then attach an ID to it. One of the projects that we did was with Fox News in New York City. We did a large project with them, and one of their big things was to make sure that their speakers, their news anchors were actually, anytime Neil Cavuto spoke or any of the other news anchors, that their name came up on the screen, and they required a 100% accuracy on that. So we worked with them, like I said, for about a week to get all of the audio from their different anchors, processed it through, and they did their testing. They just actually installed the system, and 3 of their systems. They bought 3 of our systems and installed it for their internet side. So anything that's run out on their streaming is actually our captioning now.
And that's all done prior to install?
We can do it prior to install, or we can do it right after installation. We actually prefer it once it's installed on site, because we want to we'll actually take the audio from that system as it's hearing it. Sounds kind of weird, but we want to make sure that whatever the connections are, that we're getting that feed, we'll actually hook into your system through TeamViewer, grab that audio sample from you for like the 5 days that's run through the system on site, and that gives the best quality or the best speaker ID, because we're actually, the system's hearing it exactly as it should. Because when you send it through, Google Docs, or when you send snippets through file sharing, some of the quality, it changes it a little bit, and we don't want it to be changed. We want it to hear exactly. We want the ACE to be hearing exactly the voice that it would hear in a real life situation.
Okay, great. And the 2000 and 2100 they come in the same device as part of the package?
Yeah, if you would choose, you can have them independent. You could have a server that just had the live setup on it, which would be the ACE 2000. You can have a server that just had post-production on it, or you could have both. In some cases, people like to have a redundant system, so they'll buy one of each, and you can always flip the software onto the other one and be able to use them. So if one system went down for whatever reason, or if you needed to use post and live at the same time, you could always do that. So you have kind of like that safety net as well as multi-use, but it's totally up to you. You could do it, you know, your setup is however you would want it.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. As far as any documented results on quality, we've done several different tests, both internally, externally. We've had third parties. We've had several different tests, like I said, through Fox. Sinclair Media has done a test of our system. We've had, you know, we've gone up against all of the competitors out there. And one of the questions everybody asks is, who are the competitors out there? We are very unique in that we do not require an internet connection. You can, but you absolutely do not have to, which is a huge security thing, especially for corporations, government entities, news stations. A lot of people are getting leery about being connected or needing to be connected to the internet. The system does not need to be connected. So that's a huge thing. The other part of it is you buy it and you own it. That's it. You don't have a monthly subscription. You don't have a per minute or per hour charge. You own the system outright. You can caption as little or as much as you want. That's why I say that we don't really have a competitor, because none of the other systems out there actually function in that way. So the other people that are out there, IBM Watson, they have a system out there. EEG has a system, and ENCO has a system. But again, their requirements are to be connected to the internet.
So how do upgrades work then? If we buy the system, it's a one-time payment, we own it, you start updating the system, how do we take advantage of updates?
You can do it a couple different ways. So it can be connected to the internet, and if you choose to connect to the internet, it'll automatically, once you log in, it'll automatically update the latest language models or anything like that. If it's a security issue, we've worked with different government agencies that will not connect to the internet, and we just send a flash drive, or we'll send it through an email. The updates, you upload it, and that's it.
But are the updates included for life as far as on the purchase?
Yeah. Yep. So your updates, anything that we add, so like a new language that would be added, any of our language models, like even, like I mentioned, like our Xbox language model for all the gamer names, not that you'd need it, but all of those different language models are out there. All those language models are out there for you to take advantage of if you so chose.
And is there a support, license, maintenance contract required, either on a monthly or annual basis?
So we have, your first year is completely included, so that 24/7, 365 support with an engineer, all of the updates, upgrades, everything like that, plus your hardware and software is under warranty. That is included in the first year. After that, depending on the system, there is a yearly warranty renewal, and that continues that warranty. So if something happens, I call it the Best Buy warranty. So if you drop that cup of coffee on your computer, Best Buy will replace it. We kind of have the same philosophy. If it breaks, we replace.
Okay, and is that only warranty only on the hardware then?
No, the warranty is on the software and the hardware. So if anything happens to the software, we'll send you a new, it's a hot swappable hard drive. So if something happened to the hard drive, we overnight a new hard drive to you. We can overnight an entire server if needed, but we can also go in and flip out. So if something happened to the software, we can team view in, uninstall, reinstall. It's bumper to bumper true coverage.
Okay. And without that warranty, is there no tech support then?
You can give us a call and we'll answer, general questions. If it's something more in depth, then you would just pay a per hour charge for our engineer.
Okay. And without the warranty, would we be still able to download the upgrades and install them?
You'll still get the vocabulary, any new software. So like the software that we looked at today, that's a brand new user interface. Those ones you would have to give us a call and we'd just quote you for the time to do the upgrade.
Okay.
And if there was a failure under warranty and we had to swap it out, does that mean a rebuild of, we have to start from square one as far as learning speakers and stuff, or is there a backup created someplace?
No, it'll be, everything will be saved to the kind of like the global dictionary. So we send you out a new system, you plug it in, everything's ready to go.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Are there any other questions? I hope I didn't miss anybody through the chat.
I have a question. This is Sharon Colton in Arkansas. Hi. Thank you so much for your presentation here. A couple of things. I had some difficulties with one of the computer systems, so I had to move to a different suite. So I joined a little bit late. Furthermore, all the engineering people who would interface directly with you guys were called away to another meeting, ironically starting at 10 a.m. Central. Doggone it. Are you guys... Yeah. So best case scenario, everybody can attend this at a later date. Will you guys be doing another webinar anyway soon?
Absolutely. And you can always, if you want to contact anybody from Bridge Digital, we can always schedule a one-on-one with you, and we can do a demo. Yeah.
This is John Prather with Bridge Digital. We may schedule additional webinars, but I'll also, agree, Tricia, saying that we can set up a one-on-one with you and your team. Mm-hmm. And also, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar.
Oh, wonderful.
Probably later today, so that you can always just play it at your own leisure.
Oh, good. That would be great. Yes. I coordinate closed captioning projects here, and it's all manual, with a physical captioner on the other end. And so I'm coming into this fairly new, and it's the engineers who really need to be at the table. That's great information. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question about sending the captions out through I have a little chat box. There was a question about sending out the captions for live. How is it done? It can be done through an RS-232 cable, or you can do it through IP like Ethernet. So you can have either one. And if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If you come up with questions, because that's usually how it goes. If you think of any questions after the fact, you've got John's email. You can always email him. These guys are great to work with, and we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much for... You got another question?
I have a couple more questions. I actually had a couple more questions that popped up here. It asks what kind of punctuation does the system use, quotation marks, etc. It can use some punctuation. It will use obviously periods, question marks, things like that, depending on how the speaker speaks. A professional speaker knows when to pause and when not to. If you're talking, somebody out on the street, a lot of run-on sentences, things like that. The system is going to try and do its best based on context, which is part of that latency built in, to determine where an end of a sentence is and put punctuation. Quotes, things like that. Again, it just depends on what they're talking about or what the situation is. Caption files created. Okay, a question about the MXF files needing to marry the SRT file with the video in an edit suite. You can choose to have you can choose to edit it in the question was, sorry, let me go through again. If you had an MXF file, would you need to marry it to the SRT file in an editing program? You can, or you can have the system preset as one of the features. You can actually have it embed. I'm gonna minimize this. I think you guys can still see my screen here. You can choose to inject the captions directly into the video. So then your video that would be saved would actually have embedded captions onto it. So depending on that file format, it will choose, and what file format you choose as your output, will it allow you to have an injected video. And we can always, there's a lot of different file formats out there, and I do not claim to know them all or how they work. If you ever want to send us a sample video of any of your files, a 5-10 minute long video clip in whatever file format that you guys use, we will run it through our system and send and let us know what file format output you would like to have. We can always send you a sample, and we'll just process it through and send anything. We do not edit it, we don't audit it, we run it through the system and send it back. Sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it's not. It depends on what your audio quality is. Music, it will not do well. It'll recognize music and it'll put music notes, but it's not going to caption the music. Sound effects, explosions, laugh tracks over your audio. Our rule of thumb is if a live captioner can hear it, our system should be able to hear it. It's just if you get the music or the audio or the external audio over the speaker, the system's just not going to hear it, and it won't caption anything. It won't caption a bunch of gibberish, but it just won't caption anything. So just keep that in mind if you do send us a video.
Deep Southern drawls. We have that here. I mean, it's Arkansas. Sometimes I need an interpreter, and I'm native.
Yeah. I know what you mean. We're actually located in Jackson, Missouri, which is down in the boot heel, so I know that very well. We have a system installed in New Orleans, so in St. Charles Parish. So you can imagine that kind of a draw. We can train the system. I use that example of Louisville, Kentucky, because depending on where you're at in Kentucky, you either have a very deep Southern drawl or that Kentucky drawl, or you have that Ohio neutral accent. So depending on where you're at in Kentucky, you're going to say Louisville very different. The system is trained to know based on how you say it. It's going to caption Louisville, whether it's Louisville, Louisville, or Louisville.
Oh, good. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah,
by the way,
absolutely.
it's Nolans if you are a local.
Nolans.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I hear it all here. Okay, good.
Yeah, so another question that popped up on our little chat, can it support a caption file or can you export a caption file from a live event? Yes, you can. So that a zip file that's created, you can use anything in that zip file. It has an SRT file. You can tell it what type of file to save, whether it's a Word doc, an SRT file, an SCC file, whatever you choose. You can preset all of that up, and you can export it and keep it as your post-production file if you so chose. Another question was in regards to, again, the punctuation, commas. Again, it can, but it really depends on the speaker. It has to be a clear pause and not just a run-on sentence or taking a breath. So the punctuation can be a challenge because if it's not a trained speaker, you don't know. I'm definitely not a trained speaker, so a system would have a tough time with me telling it what was a sentence and what was a run-on sentence.
Well, you could have fooled me, so.
Well, I appreciate it. Sure. If there were any other questions, again, any questions at all, please do not hesitate to contact the team over at Bridge Digital. They can get in touch with any of my engineers if it's a technical question. Again, please share if you have any questions about, if you want to have a demo, if you're interested in an on-site demo. We have a few systems that float around. We try to keep one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, and I can get you on the schedule if you're interested in having, it's an ACE 2200 and one of our SCE 492 encoders. It comes as a bundle, and I can put you on the schedule and actually have you go on site. You hook it up, call one of our engineers. We'll kind of do a quick run through, make sure everything's set up, and you can have it actually caption your whatever you have that you want to run through the system for a week. So if you're interested, let John know and we can get you on the schedule.
Okay, what kind of expenditure would be involved, perhaps, and what how far out would you want to book?
As far as for the demos, we take care of everything. We ship it in, we pick it up. There's nothing. The only thing we ask is to know where it's going, so that way we can keep track of where everything's at.
Right.
But other than that, we take care of it. As far as the timing, right now, I'm booked into the very first week of December. So if you are interested, please do let me know, and I can get you on the schedule.
Okay. Excellent.
Tell me the difference between, say, purchasing the Link product through Bridge versus going direct to Voice Interaction and buying their product.
If you were to go through, okay, so Voice Interaction, we're their provider. Voice Interaction created the software. Out of the Voice Interaction is actually a Portuguese company. They're based in Portugal and Brazil. They've written the software for the system. What Link Electronics has done is taken that Portuguese software and Americanized it, if you will. We've created all of the user interfaces to be in English, to be able to run through the system. We've also created the server that this will actually run on. So Voice Interaction, it's the software, and you have to create everything on your own. There's no support. Not to say that they're obviously their software is phenomenal, but Link Electronics, we actually do all of the support. So that's the big difference between if you were to contact Voice Interaction. They're great people, but when you're working with Link Electronics or Bridge Digital, you're getting the entire package. You're not getting what I like to call a DIY science fair project, which is what you get with most of the other systems that are out there. You either get software and you have to figure out what kind of hardware. You're going to have to create everything. The language models you create, speaker IDs you create. You have to try and do it all yourself. When you buy the system from us, you get a server, the hardware, software, and the support. We are your captioning provider. So everything that you need, your speaker IDs, your language models, you want a specific, maybe your company, because we've worked with, some of our customers include, like I've mentioned, Xbox, Spotify, Fox News. We've worked with these customers, and then in some of their cases, they have very unique language models, very unique vocabulary. Spotify, they're an international company. Their speakers they're originated out of Stockholm. So their speakers, their presenters are foreign. So language models, their terminology is very unique. They use their team names, things like that. We actually we've created a unique, specific language model for Spotify. So those are things that we do. Those are things that we do, where it would be very different from going with a different system or a different company. Is we do all of that. IBM Watson, again, it's if you've taken a look at the program, I've had a chance to look at it. I say it has good bones. But again, it's a science fair project. If you want to go in and create if you have a team that you want to create a language model and teach it and show it how, all your different speakers, it's very speaker dependent, things like that. If you want to do the training, it could be a very useful program. But I just think, again, it's just a skeleton. It's not a complete system. Ours is a box that you can put on a wall and it works.
Great, thank you. That's a good answer.
Where do we get a hold of you, Trish, for this to get on the list?
If you just want to contact John Prather or any of the team members over at Bridge Digital, I talk to them pretty much every day. So if you want to get in touch with them, we'll be able to schedule an on-site, no problem.